Good afternoon. Believe it or not, it's not raining in Manchester. It is lovely, bright and sunny, but very, very cold. And I have got Stephen here with me from Esteemed Company, massive Manchester City fan. And the first question that I need to ask you is, there's a lot of debate as to who are Manchester City's big top rivals. Would you say without a doubt it is Liverpool, especially when looking at who's going to challenge you for this Premier League title?
Well, it's definitely not United these days, is it?
All right, okay.
Look, in terms of on the pitch, it's Liverpool. They're the ones that I take seriously. And even before this season started, despite what Arsenal did last year, I still felt Liverpool, the run they had towards the end of the season, that they've got that experience and that know-how and that kind of... They've been there before, basically, because I take them way more seriously because they've got the quality of Salah and Van Dijk and Alisson. So right now it's them, and given all the spice on the pitch and off the pitch over the past few years, yeah, it's them.
Now, one thing that I have to talk about that has been a massive talking point on this show is Everton's 10-point ban. Now, for Manchester City potentially facing over 115 charges, does that make you feel a little bit nervous about the 10-match ban? And what would you say as a City fan is a reasonable punishment for you guys?
I'll leave that last bit to the lawyers. I have no idea. And to be honest, ultimately, I've been watching City for 30 odd years. I really genuinely, hand on heart, don't care. I mean that, like, don't threaten us with a good time. If we're back in League One again, wearing Kappa tracksuits, we'll be buzzing, you know. So it's one of those things where, look, ultimately I'm a City fan. I watch football and I watch the players and enjoy that. And I've been doing that for all my life. And I have to trust, you know, the club when they put the statements out. I have to trust Pep Guardiola and the chairman that they're innocent. I have to trust them because, you know, ultimately that's what they've said. We'll find out eventually what happens, but, you know, they've already been to UEFA and they've been to the Court of Arbitration of Sport and been cleared there. So I trust that everything's in order. If it isn't, in terms of punishment, I don't really care, you know. Take the stadium, take us whatever, put us down in the Northern the Division 7 or whatever. I don't really care because I'll be there anyway watching it, like loads of Manchester City fans will anyway, because it's not really about that where we're playing or anything. It's about the team that we support. But like in terms of the actual what happens, so be it. Whatever's going to happen, I trust that City are innocent. But those memories that we've got, be it the Champions League, the treble, the multiple Premier Leagues, that's all I care about. Watching it with friends and family and being there and enjoying it. That's what's going to last for me.
And if you got your trophies taken off you, how do you feel about that?
That's so childish. Like, we won them on the pitch fair and square. Those players, every single one of those players, look, if it came out the City had cheated, that's accountants doing accounting things, you know. That is not the will of the players. That is not Pep Guardiola's fault, De Bruyne's fault, Bernardo Silva's fault. They earned that fair and square on the pitch, like every single player out there. Like, whatever happens off the pitch, it's nothing to do with what happened on the pitch for those players. So the trophy stuff either way, look, they're not going to do that, but if they did do that, well done. You got your little asterisk trophies in the end. That's absolutely pathetic in my opinion. I wouldn't want to win a trophy that way in the first place. And either way, you know, it still happened, so that's enough for me.
Well, I think it's safe to say that the charges are on the minds of Manchester City fans, but I'm sure that will all be changing at 12:30. And there is so much to play for in this game, especially for Liverpool, because they haven't actually managed to win a Premier League game at the Etihad since 2015. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens tomorrow.
Angelina, it sure will. Thank you very much indeed. Angelina Kelly there outside the Etihad for us this lunchtime. Yeah, that fellow's observation, Simon, somewhat missed because the players were kind of involved in it all, were they not?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with the players and the manager. It's only to do with the accountants. So the fact that you've spent inordinate amounts of money and the allegations are as a result of buying players and managers, you've put yourself in the way of a financial fair play question that you've managed to get around by potentially finding mechanisms to pull, like inflated commercial deals. No, nothing to do with the players or manager. No one got any benefit from all that spend.
He's right. He goes with an old Gallagher school of thought, though, Martin, that they're not that bothered where they end up. They will follow City no matter what,
and of course,
wherever they go.
They haven't yet been found guilty, Jim, as well. So these are just charges, but one assumes that, you know, it's going to be interesting watching to see.
Well, they were, in fact, found guilty. And then the Court of Arbitration of Sport gave them an opportunity to have a different viewpoint. So initially they were found guilty by UEFA. And we will see if they're found guilty by the Premier League.
There is, we've been saying it this week though, Simon, there is a degree of nervousness though amongst City fans. And anyone who's not a City fan, I think they quite enjoy some of the fans of other clubs pointing the finger at City saying, your turn next. Looking forward to see how you're going to react.
Yep.
Because Everton had it in the net last week with a 10-point deduction. I think there is a nervousness amongst the City supporters, like, this is not done yet. I wish it was, but it's not done yet. We don't know our fate yet.
Well, I think they can live with their fate. I don't think they'll be able to live with the ridicule that will come as a result of it, that will then step up the narrative. What you want, if you're Manchester City, is exoneration. What you don't want is the ability to get out from underneath by technical arguments, which in part, not in all of, but in part were some of the arguments that would be able to overcome the issues that they got from UEFA. UEFA went, that'll do, we've seen this, our viewpoint is you now need to be sanctioned, you're banned from Europe. Right, which was a pretty strident position for them to take. That was reversed out on appeal through the Court of Arbitration of Sport, who have different ideals behind what they believe is part and parcel of the way that they adjudicate, and some of that was about time barring.
They took a heavy fine then at that stage.
Well, that was 13 years ago. They got fined, so they've been guilty before, and they will turn around and say, in typical Man City way, and their supporters will say, "No, we didn't contest it because we'd rather pay the £20 million fine." And that was the argument Man City put up. Rather than ruffle the feathers and go after everybody like we could have done and should have done because we weren't guilty then, we'd much prefer to pay a £20 million fine. It started off as a 50, it got reduced to 20, and started off with a ban and got reduced as well. Now you go forward to the next allegation, because this is the second set of circumstances, maybe even the third, that they're now having a set of allegations brought about them for a different time period, which UEFA went, that'll do, done. And then, of course, Man City came out with their obviously outrage, took it to the Court of Arbitration of Sport, and it was adjudicated slightly differently. I'm sure Man City fans will say that that's not the case. And now they are now in the Premier League. So they have actually, in fact, been found guilty once in 2013. They've been found guilty by UEFA, which was in effect overturned by Court of Arbitration of Sport. And now we're in a space that no one thought they would be in, which is the Premier League would have the teeth to go after them. And now what that does for Man City is, I would like Manchester City to be exonerated, not using legions of lawyers like they said they would do to tie everybody up in knots. Their words, not mine. I would like them not to be out from underneath on the technicality, to be absolutely clear and unequivocal. This is not a case that we have to answer to.
Yeah, we're proving our innocence.
So people like me can go, you know what, I got it wrong. I don't think I have. But on the other side of the equation, if they are found guilty, I think it adds to their already sort of conspiracy theory mentality that everyone dislikes them, and the feeling that there is an element of envy and jealousy, which is based upon the fact that they've been able to spend lots of money, as it turns out, not more than Manchester United. But there will always be this idea that Manchester City is a plastic football club built by a group of Middle Eastern guys that have got money to build it up from where it was to where it is, and it will not be in their liking to have some sort of slap which says you were guilty of this, because then they'll never be able to get out into the area where the legacy football clubs live, like Man United and Liverpool and Barcelona and Real Madrid and Juventus, where they've got this legacy. It doesn't kind of matter if they behave badly in the present, because in the past they've created this huge legacy. But Man City are a product of the current.
But aren't they safe in the knowledge now that the precedent's been set by the punishment meted out to Everton, and that it won't actually be retrospectively punished?
I think that's immaterial.
They'll just know that it'll happen in the subsequent seasons.
I think that's immaterial.
I think one thing we're agreed on is it could take a long time yet.
I think, and the reason for that is why. The reason why it can take a long time is because I'm pretty damn sure that's because what Man City wants. And for me, having been through many court cases, both significant and complex, I find myself, when I'm in the situation where I'm absolutely guilty of nothing, and being in a hurry to get to court, being in a hurry to get to a position where I can absolutely and unequivocally exonerate myself from the ridiculous and spurious allegations that are being made against me. For the fact that Everton have done it this way, and here we are with Man City now, what? How long ago were these 115 charges dropped on them? 6-7 months ago?
Yeah, and it's still going on. It's 12:30, stay with us.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.